human need to explore is deep within all of us. Our ancestors crossed mountain ranges, sailed open oceans to map new lands, and sought out the unknown while always looking to the stars. We're curious, and now we're at a place where we can pioneer new horizons. Because Earth, this blue planet and all its beauty, is just our starting place.
It's time.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Command start. 2, 1. And liftoff.
5,000 feet and climbing.
That was a beautiful launch. And there it is, separation.
Now is the time to open the promise of space to all and lay the way for generations to come. When our descendants look to the stars, perhaps from a rocky moon or colonies floating in open space, they'll remember this time. When they reflect on where it started, they'll remember this place.
Touchdown.
And when they honor those first explorers who said, "Let's go," they'll remember these bold steps. We are of blue origin. And this is just the beginning.
Hello, everyone. A big welcome from Blue Origin. We're getting ready for New Shepard's 9th mission to space. The clock is at T-minus 16 minutes and 40 seconds to go until liftoff for what is going to be an exciting flight for New Shepard. Right now, you're seeing live images of New Shepard on the pad. My name is Ariane Cornell. I am so happy to be your host for this morning's live broadcast. During my day job, I head up astronaut sales for New Shepard, as well as I'm a sales director for New Glenn. This is our orbital rocket that's coming online in a couple of years now. But today, I'm your guide through this 9th mission. Before we get started, a special hello to a couple of our friends back in Kent, Washington. That's our headquarters. Good morning, guys. Looking good there. Also, a special hello to our team down in Cape Canaveral, Florida at our rocket factory for New Glenn. Good morning to you all as well. All right, let's get into the mission at hand. We have a very important mission. We are going to be testing the most important part of our human space flight subsystem. That is the escape motor in the Crew Capsule. We are going to be firing it in the vacuum of space for the first time. We have what's called a full envelope escape system. So from the moment that the capsule is on the pad, through flight, through separation, we can fire that escape motor. And so we are going to be testing it just after separation to really find what is the red line on the system. This is going to be an intense test for both the Crew Capsule and the booster. It's going to be very exciting. In addition to the test of the escape motor, we have a couple of payloads on board today. It's the third time that we are going to have paying customers on board. So let's talk about them. MuSpace from Thailand is one of our first customers. This video is from this morning when we loaded in the payloads. They also happen to be, by the way, one of our first New Glenn customers. We will be sending one of their satellites into space in just a couple of years here on New Glenn. Also on board today, we have a payload from Solstar. Solstar is working on technology to put Wi-Fi in space. So I don't know if you guys knew this, but during our last flight, they had the first tweet from New Shepard. How cool is that? I can't wait till I'm tweeting up there. Next, we've got a payload from called Gaga from Germany. This payload is funded by the German Aerospace Center, also known as DLR. And last but not least, we've got a couple of payloads that come to us by way of our friends at NASA. So we've got one from the Johnson Space Center, as well as 3 that are coming from the Flight Opportunities Program at NASA. So that means one from Purdue University, Johns Hopkins University, and Controlled Dynamics. A big thank you to all of our customers. Now, to you that are watching at home, to the teachers, to the students, to the companies that want to take advantage of the extraordinary zero-G opportunity that we have with New Shepard, please go to our website. We would love to be flying with you soon. Okay. We are at T-minus 13 minutes and 30 seconds to go until launch. Why don't we take a couple of seconds here to check out New Shepard on the pad. She is looking good for her flight to space. All right, let's get back into the main event for today. As we said, this is going to be a very exciting test flight for us. We are going to be testing the escape motor in the Crew Capsule. It's an important test in our march towards flying humans into space, which hopefully will be soon here after a couple more tests, but this is a crucial one for us. Why don't we get into some of the details? Now, the Crew Capsule is going to launch on top of the booster. It's going to be basically a nominal flight up towards separation of the Crew Capsule from the booster. We're going to let the Crew Capsule and the booster, after separation, we're going to give them about 20 seconds, about 100 feet, 30 meters or so in distance to separate before we fire the escape motor. Why do we do that? We want to create a little bit of distance between the capsule and the booster because we don't want the exhaust from the 70,000 pound of thrust escape motor to affect the trajectory of the booster. Now, we've got a couple of key questions that we're trying to answer today. The first one being, can we bring back the booster? As we said, we don't want the exhaust to basically tip the booster. We want to bring her back home to be able to reuse her for a couple more flights. Second question, how is this solid rocket motor, escape motor, going to operate in the vacuum of space? We've never done this before. Similarly, in turn, how is the Crew Capsule going to perform in the vacuum of space after this very extreme firing of the escape motor? And last but not least, because of the escape, it means that the capsule is actually going to go 50,000 feet higher than we've ever flown the capsule, up to about 390,000 feet or about 400,000 feet today. That's about 120 kilometers. That's very high. It means it's a bit of more energy for the capsule to get rid of before it comes back down to land under parachutes back here in Texas. So an exciting test in store. Anything can happen. There are a lot of variables. I can't emphasize enough, though, how important this test is as we march towards human spaceflight on New Shepard. Okay, we are at T-minus 10 minutes and 50 seconds to go before launch. New Shepard is looking good. It's a beautiful morning down here for a test launch. So you guys are listening to this description of today's test thinking that's probably pretty crazy, but let me put this test into context. Any car or any plane that you've ever flown in or driven in has gone through this sort of testing. So the designers of the aircraft do engine out tests before you fly in them. Car designers go pedal to the metal to find what the red line is, and they go through crash scenarios on the car. But once you get into day-to-day operations of those vehicles, you don't actually operate them in that extreme side of the spectrum, and that's exactly what we're doing today. We are going to find that red line of the New Shepard rocket, test out that full envelope escape system for our human spaceflight program. Very, very important. And so that's what we got in store for you today. This is not actually the first time that we've done an escape test on New Shepard. October of 2012, we did a pad escape test where we simulated a failure on the pad, then fired the escape motor. That's 70,000 pounds of thrust. It's a solid rocket motor. It fires, and then as soon as it has completely burned out there, then we release the drogues and then the mains. Completely successful test back in October of 2012. We followed this up in October of 2016, where we tested the solid rocket motor, the escape motor, in flight at max Q, when it was which is basically the most stressful aerodynamic point in the flight for the rocket. Again, perfect test. The capsule came back down softly under the parachutes. Additionally, we actually recovered the booster. We weren't expecting it because that's not exactly what it's designed for, but we brought back the booster, and now she is sitting pretty in retirement in Florida at Cape Canaveral in our rocket factory. Now, a big difference between those tests and today, we're going to have Mannequin Skywalker on board today. There he is. He's going up for his third flight to space. He will be collecting some very important astronaut data for us that we're going to be crunching. There we go. He's all chilled out, relaxed in his reclined seat there. Little does he know, we've got a pretty intense day in store for him. I'd like you guys to check out this capsule. This iteration had the big windows. That was the big upgrade. Big upgrade on the next one will be finished customer interiors. It's going to be a sweet ride. I've actually got a preview for you, so why don't we roll the video?
For your once-in-a-lifetime journey, you will travel past the boundaries of Earth's atmosphere and into outer space. Featuring windows that comprise 1/3 of the capsule's surface structure, the largest windows ever in space, you'll have a view of the curve of the planet and the vast darkness of the cosmos. Every detail of the capsule has been precision engineered for your safety and comfort, with reclining seats specifically designed to absorb the impact of landing, and an escape motor that can safely propel the capsule from the booster rocket. At the apex of your flight, you'll experience weightlessness. Unbuckling from your seat, you're free to explore different perspectives from each window before your return to Earth begins. This is the beginning of a revolution in space travel, and Blue Origin is going to take you there.
Wow. I cannot wait to go up on New Shepard. It's going to be extraordinary, especially in that crew capsule. That is pretty cool. All right, we are at T-minus 8 minutes. We are in a brief hold, just making sure that our teams are aligned and that the rocket is all set for her extraordinary test today. It's really important, especially for such an extreme test, that we are totally 100% all set to go for the test. All right, so while we've got a second here, why don't we see some images of New Shepard while she's on the pad, getting fueled up, looking at her. You see there on the left, we actually have a new shade. We want to keep, of course, the propellant in the green for the temperatures and the pressure, but also up in the capsule, we want to keep the temperatures in the green. All right, thanks everybody for joining us live for New Shepard's 9th mission to space. This is actually going to be the 3rd time that this rocket and capsule have flown to space, but it's the 9th mission in the whole entire test program. And while we've got a little bit of time for you, I want to talk to you a little bit about West Texas. You hear me talking about West Texas a lot because it's a very special place down here. It is our home away from home. I want to share a little bit more about this area. So we put together a little highlight reel for you. Why don't we play that? Two hours east of El Paso sits Van Horn, population 2,000. This small town lies on an isolated edge of Texas with epic views in every direction. Breathtaking sunsets, a seemingly endless horizon, hiking trails, untouched lands, and natural beauty. It's our home away from home, and when we're here, we get to take part in the local culture. And on launch days, locals get a glimpse of New Shepard as it blasts into space. This is the home of New Shepard. 20 miles north of Van Horn's Main Street, Blue Origin occupies a majestic valley as far as the eye can see. Texas has always been at the forefront of human space exploration. It's where the Mercury astronauts trained for their first journeys to space and was home to mission control for the Apollo moon landings. Now, this rich history is being passed to a new generation of astronauts. West Texas has been the site of every Blue Origin mission to date. Soon, it will be the launch point for our first human flight, where your journey to the edge of space begins. I can't tell you guys enough how beautiful it is down here. I live up in Seattle, and clearly there's quite the juxtaposition between what I get to see up there and what I get to see down here in Van Horn. But those sunrises and sunsets are incredible. Just the open space, it puts you in a different mindset, and I think that's exactly what our astronauts are going to want to be in when they go in for this life-changing trip up to space and back when they come flying with us. Now, we haven't started selling tickets yet for the trip to space. We haven't set a price. We haven't released those details. It's coming, but we've got our eye on the prize, and we got to make sure that we understand our system through and through. That means understanding everything that's necessary for human space flight, including the escape system. At Blue Origin, we're all about safety. That's our operations, and that's also what we build into the design of the rocket. And so that is where we are keeping our focus today. We are currently at 8 minutes to go until launch. We are in a hold while we wait for our teams to get aligned here. While we've got a little bit of time, let's go back and check out some beautiful images of New Shepard and watch her as she gets ready for her flight to space today. All right, thank you everybody for staying with us. We are at T-minus 8 minutes to go. We are in a brief hold. Want to make sure that our teams are all aligned for the flight to space today, the extreme test on our escape system in the Crew Capsule. But we're at mission 9 of this test program. And at Blue Origin, we talk about step by step ferociously. It is our motto, and that's exactly how we approach this test program. So we're at number 9, but it's what we've learned in missions 1 through 8 that have gotten us there. And so I want to show you guys a highlight reel of those previous flights. Why don't we take a look?
Command start. And lift off.
5,000 feet and climbing.
There it is, separation. Shepard rocket here from West Texas. Cutoff.
Right on target.
There it is, separation. I love watching that highlight reel. I have been here for every single one of these launches, and it's just electric, absolutely electric. It's what our teams build up for months and months and months. And each day is the day, right? I mean, especially that second mission when we had the historic launch into space and first landing of a rocket ever. Incredible. And then just a couple months later, we reused that same rocket. We showed that you can reuse rockets. And since then, I think we've proven that reusable rockets are here to stay. Absolutely exciting to be part of New Shepard's program as we make history. All right, we are at T-minus 7 minutes and 30 seconds to go. We have come out of a hold. And why don't we get back into our mission? So, as noted, it's going to be a pretty extreme mission, but why don't we get into some of the nitty-gritty and look at it from the perspective of our friend Mannequin Skywalker. Okay, so he's going to be strapped into his seat in the capsule. The capsule will be on top of the booster. It'll be a nominal flight to space. He's going to start to feel the G's come on gradually. He'll peak at about 3 G's on ascent, but it's going to be relatively comfortable because he's in that reclined position in those in-house designed seats that absorb the G's. He's going to go until main engine cutoff. At that point, he's going to start to feel the weightlessness. It's going to get nice and quiet because he doesn't have the BE-3 engine underneath him rumbling anymore. And then just about 15 seconds later, the capsule and the booster are going to separate from each other. At that point, we are going to let the capsule and the booster separate by about 20 seconds, and that's going to give the two craft about 100 feet or 30 meters of separation, because when that escape motor fires, it's going to create a big plume of exhaust, and we don't want it to tip the rocket because we want that rocket back. All right, the escape motor fires. Mannequin Skywalker is going to go far and fast away from the booster. He's going to go towards an apogee or a high altitude of about 390,000, maybe 400,000 feet. That's about 120 kilometers up. That's 50,000 kilometers higher than we have ever gone in the past. What we want to see from this test is how the reaction control system, it's basically a set of mini thrusters on the base of the capsule, work to keep the capsule nice and stable. We want to stabilize the capsule before we bring it back down to Earth. It's going to pass through, of course, back into the atmosphere. The drogue parachutes will come out. The mains will come out. Last milliseconds, we're going to have the retro thrust system fire, create an air cushion for Mannequin Skywalker for a nice soft landing back at home. In parallel, the booster, assuming it's not tipped over by the escape event, will hit its own apogee and then come back down to Earth for what we hope to be again another nominal landing for the rocket. This is the third flight to space for both the booster and the capsule. So exciting day, many variables, right? Anything could happen. That's why we love live TV, right? Thanks for joining us for today's test. It's going to be a good one. We are at T-minus 4 minutes and 36 seconds to go until this test today. Why don't we take another look at New Shepard while she's on the pad getting ready to go. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us for the 9th mission of this New Shepard test program. We've got our rocket on the pad. She is ready to rock and roll. I hear from Mission Control that we are go for launch. We are at T-minus 3 minutes. Now, T-minus 2 minutes, we're going to throw the show over to the rocket. She's a completely autonomous system, so it's all in her hands. As we count down from there, she's going to go through some of her last-minute checks. We're going to check the aft fins. You see them there on your screen. You see 2 there on your screen. There are 2 more on the other side. Make sure that they've got free range. And we're also going to see the engine gimbal. You see the nozzle kind of peeking out there out of the bottom of the rocket. That also needs to make sure that it's got free range of movement. They work together in concert to direct the vehicle. So we need to make sure that they are free to do their thing. Meanwhile, we've got our teams that have their eyes glued to their screens. We want to make sure in particular that the temperature and pressures in the propellant tank are all in the green and ready to go. It's warm down here in Texas this morning, and we want to make sure that the ambient temperature isn't affecting the propellants too much. So that's why we're making sure that we've got everything continuing to be a go for launch. We are at T-minus 2 minutes and 29 seconds. We are in a brief hold here as we get ready for the 9th test mission to space. And I understand we are out of the brief hold. Everything is looking good for our launch today. T-minus 1 minute and 40 seconds to go. The gantry is retracting. The control has been sent over to the rocket. Let's wait for those gimbal checks. There go the fin checks. There goes the engine gimbal check. Man, you can feel the excitement down here in Texas. At this point, let's turn it over to Mission Control. Get ready for an exciting ride, Mannequin Skywalker.
Guidance to internal. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Command engine start. 2, 1.
Go, baby, go. A beautiful liftoff of our new Shepard rocket here from West Texas. Listen to that BE-3 engine roar. You can follow along as she gains speed up to space in your top right corner of your screen. Bottom left, follow along with the altimeter. You may have seen we started about 3,600, 3,700 feet. That's our altitude down here at our West Texas launch site. Just about at max Q. It's where the aerodynamic stresses are at their maximum on the rocket. Looks like a nice clean burn on that BE-3 engine. The next milestone on her flight to space will be main engine cutoff. "90,000 feet and climbing." Thank you again for joining us for this live test of our new Shepard rocket. We are within seconds of this exciting escape test. We'll be firing the escape motor in the crew capsule about 20 seconds after separation of the capsule from the booster. Main engine cutoff. The rocket is still ascending towards space. Separation confirmed. There goes the escape motor. The crew capsule has blasted away from the booster as planned. Let's see how the reaction control system on the base of the capsule reacts. We want to stabilize the capsule prior to it re-entering the atmosphere for a nice, smooth landing back here home. The capsule is continuing up towards space, towards its apogee. You can see on the top right corner of your screen, it's slowing down. Once it hits 0, you know it's hit its max altitude, and then of course it's going to regain speed as it comes back home. Thank you again for joining us for this live test. We have just fired the escape motor in the capsule at about 250,000 feet. So far, everything looks good. The capsule has reached its apogee and is heading back home. Everything from this vantage point is looking nominal in our test today. Now the booster is going to beat the capsule back home as an anomalous flight. First milestone as it returns home that's going to help ensure and give us confidence that it wasn't affected by the escape test, as we're going to see the wedge fins deploy at the top of the rocket. They'll come out of the ring fin. Both the ring fin and the forward fins, or the wedge fins, support the stability of the rocket as it comes back to land at our landing pad just 2 miles north of where it's taken off from. There are the wedge fins. They've come out. That is an excellent sign. All right, the next step here, the drag brakes are going to deploy. You'll see the speed of the booster reduced dramatically, and that is before the engine restarts for a nice soft landing. There go the drag brakes. Engine relight. Landing gear down. And touchdown. Welcome back. That is the third trip to space and back for that rocket. Just another day at the office. All right, let's turn it back to the crew capsule. From what I understand, everything is nominal so far with the crew capsule. Did you guys see that hover? Absolutely beautiful. Again, thank you for joining us for this live test of our new Shepard system. We flew up to about 250,000 feet, 75 kilometers. We fired the escape motor to see how the capsule would react and the engine would react, the escape motor that is, in the vacuum of space. The booster came down for a beautiful, beautiful, soft landing back here in Texas. All right, and there is the crew capsule. The drogues have come out. Excellent sign. There go the mains. Slightly reefed, and they will go to full inflation. Gorgeous. And look how stable the capsule is after such an extreme event up there in space. Mannequin is ready to come home. He probably peaked at about 10 Gs or so, but you know what? That is well within what humans can take, especially for such a short spurt of time and in those reclined seats. It's just important that we bring the astronauts home safely. A nice stable hover there at about 16 miles an hour. Some great shots of those big, beautiful windows on the capsule. Anything could have happened today, and this is the best possible outcome. About 1,000 feet above ground level now. .500 feet. And touchdown. Absolutely beautiful. Welcome home, New Shepard. What a test today. Wow. You saw the last minute there, those retro thrust system had a beautiful fire, kicked up some dust. Mannequin had a smooth landing. As did our friend the booster, came back for a beautiful hover and soft landing on its landing pad. Wow, what a day for the rocket, for our team. Big high five to our team back in Kent. That was an extraordinary test. What a system. You saw the drogues also coming back down. Wow. With anything that could have happened, that was picture perfect from this vantage point. We're going to have, of course, all the official statistics and updates for you within a couple of hours after the flight, but we want to give you a couple of unofficial stats here. Mission launch time, 10:11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Maximum ascent velocity, 2,236 miles an hour. The capsule reached an apogee of 389,846 feet. That was almost 120 kilometers. And our mission elapsed time, 11 minutes and 17 seconds of excitement. I'm still catching my breath down here. Wow, look at that capsule. Mannequin had quite the ride. So important, this test for us today. The safety system is absolutely important to understand before we put people on board the capsule. We can't wait to take you guys to space on this one day. I can't wait to ride in that capsule to space one day. Absolutely. Look at those gorgeous shots. Spectacular. This is going to conclude our live webcast for today. If you want to know more about Blue Origin or check out the jobs that we have available, we'd love to have the best and brightest of you come join us at Blue Origin. Check out our website. My name is Ariane Cornell. It has been an absolute honor to be your host for today. And until our next exciting test, Gradatum Ferociter.